Yo guys, welcome back to another Danmachi Memoria Freese video. Okay, so I don't know when this video is going out. I don't know if it's going out immediately after recording or whatever. It depends what time I finished doing it. But all I know is it's coming out later than I wanted it to, and for that I am sorry. Things have been a bit hectic at home, so I hope you'll forgive me. Anyway, before I get into the actual video, I do need to say a big thanks to everyone over in my Discord that helped me, because this has taken I want to say weeks in terms of syncing up free time, but either way, a lot of effort has gone in from every individual involved. So big shout out to Cale, Doge, Kranos, Crass, Tiv, and I believe that's everyone. If I've missed you out, if I've missed you out, shout at me at Discord, and I'll apologize. But anyway, so today's video we are going to do the very first complete tier list for the fire element. Now I'm going to go over some ground rules, so this video may be longer than any following videos in the series, but basically this is based on whatever units are currently on the European server. The tier list will be updated when new units come out, so I will hold on to the links to keep updating them. What else? I think that's it for that part. Okay, so as for the tiering themselves, we created a scaling system to quantify qualitative data. Basically what I'm saying here is, although a lot of this is opinion, keep that in mind, this is opinion based, so if you see something you disagree with, just drop in the comments. Keep it pleasant, keep it positive. Everything is up for discussion, and that's how we grow. Anyway, but what I'm saying is basically we rank these units based on their damage output, their utility, how well they fit within teams, how well they fit or what they provide. Certain outliers may come into it here and there depending on each individual unit, yes, because we did go through each individual unit and look at what they do, what their stats are and everything, so just keep that in mind, bear that in mind. This is leaning more towards, or sorry, this tier list is leaning more away from war games, so things like 7th Zone and Record Buster are going to be the priority for this tier list. In saying that, I'm going to bring it up right now. We can have a look at it. I'm going to explain well, not everything, but I'm going to explain some stuff anyway, right? So let's pop it up right here. Okay, this is the tier list. You can find an actual copy of this over on my Discord. Link to my Discord in the description. Anyway, we're going to completely ignore D tier, with the exception of the Lena. Now the problem with the Lena is she doesn't have enough forgivable stats. Her overall strength stat is okay, bordering on 1900. The problem is she has no high modifier skills, no super modifiers on her skills. She has some utility, and she is the only fire unit I'm aware of on the European server that removes strength and magic buffs from a single target perspective. But just having that buff removal wasn't enough to forgive the low stats as well as poor modifiers and lack of other utility. She does extend buffs, I believe it is, by 1 turn. That's just not going to cut it, especially with the current caliber of units that we're seeing now. Anyway, so I'm going to breeze over the C tier, and there's an error in there which I will fix. The Halloween bait is not supposed to be there. He should be in D tier. There was some dispute as to his positioning, but ultimately I decided that he should be D tier. I just forgot to remove him. Okay, so going over the C tier really briefly, these are units that have some good damage, some good utility, a mix and match of both, but only to a certain degree, with the exception of Photo. Now Photo is the only exception because you'll notice these lists aren't necessarily in order from left to right, they're just sort of in tiers, but the exceptions being whoever I've placed, well, Lena placed at the top of the D list and Photo placed at the top of the C list. Other than that, they're not in order from left to right. Okay, I should emphasize that right now. Photo is there specifically because she deserves a shout out, simply because being an SA sack, providing what she does, which is the resistance debuff. You know what, we can actually check right now, just to go over it instead of being weird about it. So let's just lower this tier list. Forgive me while I'm not looking at the camera. I know eye contact is really important when communicating with people. However, I don't need cameras above me, screens below me. It's a little bit difficult. Anyway, right, so forget the stats for now. This is the reason she is at the top of the C list. Being a sack unit for Record Buster alone makes her that. So physical resist, magic resist minus 35%, and AoE and single target damage increased by 35%. These are the largest debuffs, because they are debuffs, that you can apply for that stat, and they are culminated all in one SA. So if you but nothing else, I mean, I don't think there is, even with the super modifier, I don't think it's worth keeping her. So she is simply designed, she's simply around to be a sack for her SA, which requires a little rearranging of how you would usually run a sack unit. Essentially, you need her to die unless you can get off her SA before the anklet kicks in, but I seriously doubt that's a thing. Anyway, right, so we're going to turn this back off now. We're going to turn a tier list back on. There we are. Okay, so other than that, the rest of the units in the C tier, now you notice there are two welfare units in there, one being Clown Argo and one being the ready to act Bell. Like I said, the C tier list is basically consisting of units with some utility or a medium level of utility, a medium level of damage, or some combination of two. So we jump up to B tier. B tier is essentially units that have specialized in utility or damage, but don't excel extremely in one area or the other, with the exception of the Patisserie Makoto. Now, the Patisserie Makoto is here simply because of how much utility she provides in one skill. Now, what I can do is I can quickly show you. I will come back here and we're going to have a look at, where are you? There you are. Skills, I do believe it's her skill 1. Is it her skill 1? Yeah, that's her SA. Not that. Okay, it's her skill 2. AoE fast. Now, obviously, this is designed more for Wargame, but it will still work very well in Record Buster or AoE 7th Zones and things like that. Essentially, I lost my train of, I didn't lose my train of thought. I had so many things I wanted to say at once. I kind of, none of them came out. So she debuffs so many things in one skill. It basically makes it possible to replace what a unit that you would run as a support on the front line and replace them with an additional damage dealer. You're losing, now obviously it's a medium level of debuffing with the 25%, because we're now like 30 is the standard, but 25% overall. Given some of the units we can get hold of that buff themselves, say by like 70%, 60%, things like that, sort of makes up for it. So having an additional damage dealer while maintaining those debuffs really opens up a new branch of possibilities in terms of team builds, which is the only reason she is in B tier instead of C tier, because she doesn't have great damage. She doesn't have exceptional utility. It's just what the utility consists of specifically. Makes her a bit of an outlier and was a little bit hard to rank her specifically in this list, but that felt like the most competent, and speak English, most competent and comfortable place that she belonged. Going across the rest here, like Argo Crozo, I know a lot of people are probably going to be screaming, oh my god, they're still so good, blah blah blah. They're amazing. B tier does not make these units bad. Like I said, it just means that they specialize in one or the other, or a higher level of both compared to C tier. Now, the Magic Elise has a decent level of damage, the 30% AoE, she, self-buffing, there's utility there, and a decent level of damage. Similar to Argo and Crozo. Now, Argo and Crozo, extend debuffs, buffs. Crozo has a bit more utility than Argo. Argo brings regen. You guys should know what those units do, but they don't. There's nothing they have in their kits that screams, oh my god, these units are amazing, which is why they're in B tier. Now, Idle Eyes at the head of the B tier. is there for a reason, and that's because there's a big question mark on her at the minute with the idle units getting a rerun, and 90% certain that they're getting buffs. I don't know what she's going to look like after those buffs. So currently she provides a good amount of utility, but her damage is kind of not really up to scratch, you know. All she's missing is a bit of, like, even if they don't buff her utility, even if they just increase her damage a little bit, I think that would be enough to push her into A tier. But for now, this is, like, I think where she belongs. Moving into A tier, we're literally looking at Kaguya is there because, well, okay, so she debuffs physical resistance, so she fits in basically any physical team for any content that requires a debuff, and she provides basically the largest physical resistance debuff the game currently has in a skill. It does require an extension because it only lasts for 2 turns, if I recall correctly. But on top of that, she provides additional actions, which actually, if you add her sort of mid-level damage with the additional action, she's up there with a decent amount of damage, similar to, I mean, I don't want to say she does more damage than Argo and Crozo, but it kind of feels like she does. Couple that with the physical resist debuff and the additional actions, as well as the fact that her skill 3, I think, has the possibility to hit harder than anyone in the B tier. She sort of deserves a place in the A tier. And you come over to Wealth. Wealth is there because Wealth has some exceptional, and I mean really exceptional, utility. Now, I'm actually going to show you what I mean when I say Wealth has exceptional utility here. We're going to bring this back here. I'll come over to the Wealth. Now, don't worry about his stats. So don't worry about his SA either. Now, it's skill 1, SA charge, plus magic dex, fire damage plus 30%. That is the sort of standard. Now, obviously, fire has the potential to buff the entire team more than that. But as a standard buff, that provides a decent amount of utility just in that one skill to any fire team. Skill 2 increases AoE and single target damage by 20%. That in itself is an amazing debuff. It means you free up space for a sack unit if you need. Skill 3, I mean, they didn't need to do this. It has a super modifier, which means he's going to hit relatively hard anyway. He doesn't hit super hard, but he hits a respectable amount, let's put it that way. But adding the 40% HP regen for 2 turns, just sort of, it's unnecessary. It doesn't really push him over the edge. I'm not saying like regen is the ultimate broken support type utility and it deserves to be up there because of that, but just having that coupled with 2 skills that already provide a good level of utility, and then having a final skill that super modifier and gives regen, yeah, I feel like that alone, excelling in that much utility alone and still being good and having a super modifier and having decent stats, mean he deserved to be in A tier at the very least. Coming back now, we're here. It's been you know, a few minutes. I'm trying to make this video not too long but not too short, so I can explain enough of the units so you understand the decisions here. In the S tier, now I'm sure you, and I'm sure I don't even need to explain why they're all S tier, but I'm going to anyway. We're going to start from the right all the way to the left. Now, starting with the physical Elise, even though she seems to be orientated more to do damage for AoE than she is single target, her single target still hits ridiculously hard. She has an excellent amount of utility. Now, I feel like I should backtrack a little bit and explain that everyone in this S tier either excels to an extreme degree in one thing or the other, or has an amazing amount of both utility and damage. Now, in Elise's case, she has an amazing amount of both. Now, having 30% crit chance buff and penetration chance buff on a super modified, let me just double check, make sure I'm not making a mistake here, but I'm pretty sure it is a super modified AoE attack. Yeah, alright, so it is a super modified AoE attack, granting crit and penetration plus 30% and has an ultra crit rate, so it's going to hit, basically she's going to crit every time. but providing that crit and pen to allies definitely provides a level of utility that you would not expect from a pure DPS. Coupled with the fact that she has the highest element resistance debuff currently in the game from a regular skill, being her skill 1 with the 40%, the minus 40% fire resistance debuff for 5 turns, which also counts as a buff to herself, both strength and fire damage at 60%. Now, obviously, strength is not as important as the element damage, given that, you know, every team runs Haruhime at some point, or at least 99% of the teams do. But if you don't have Haruhime, that still means buffing herself by that much counts for a lot. So, given that, I stand by my decision, making her S tier in the fact that she excels to a high degree within utility and damage. Moving over to Kotori, Kotori as well excels in both utility and extreme damage here. Now, if you don't know what Kotori does, I'm not going to go over the Kotori, but basically she is a nuke. She buffs herself, she prevents KO, she restores MP, and then does buttloads of damage. Like, if you think physical fire nuke for single target, Kotori is the way to go. There isn't really much I can say about her that isn't just summed up in that she does a buttload of damage and has an excellent amount of utility. So we're just going to go straight onto Reveria, and the Reveria is one of those single target nukes that basically fit into any team because she is I don't want to say self-sustaining, but she is self-reliant in terms of setup. She lowers resistances, buffs herself, and does a buttload of damage. And on top of that, her skill 3 extends, I think it extends debuffs, yes. Extends debuffs, and then her SA, it hurts, you know? She does, like, she's coupled with so much damage as well as self-reliant buffs and debuffs. You can basically slide her into a team that she doesn't even belong in. So say, for example, the Record Buster that's currently on is your best opportunity is to just use water. But with the Hephaestus that provides a magic, water, and fire buff, she would fit easily into that team running double Reveria if need be. Because she debuffs magic and fire resistance, buffs her own magic and fire. Magic isn't so much important, given Haruhime is on every team. Which brings us to Haruhime. Now, if you don't know why she is the top of the fire element tier list, then you obviously don't have her or haven't been playing the game long enough. But she essentially provides so much support and utility that it doesn't matter that she only does like 20,000 damage. Having the ability to debuff enemy strength and magic, heal, regen, extend buffs and debuffs, and then couple that with an SA that heals like crazy, regens like crazy, and then gives a 100% strength and magic buff. There is no one in the game currently that matches her level of support and utility, not in any other element especially, but till now, and you know, maybe for a long time, because there is only really so much they can do to make a support that's better than her. She'll probably be around and in S tier and rank 1 in S tier for a very long time. But yeah, that really is every decision as to why this tier list is in order that it is. Remember, this bait actually needs to be removed. He's not supposed to be in C, he's supposed to be in D tier. I made an error there. You can find this tier list, updated tier list I might add, after changing this mistake here, in my Discord. The link to that is in the description. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to drop a like if you did, subscribe if you're not. Social media links in the description as always. And yeah, as always guys, love you, and I'll catch you later.